of you and thank all of you for all of the efforts you have done to show us how to be good relatives as the new generation. So Lila Wopila Tanka. We want to also acknowledge our relatives who have left us before us and who have gone on their journey. And so we want to acknowledge our founding board members, our Unchi Bev Warren, our Unchi Sandra Woodard, and Lekshi Randy Ross, who have helped us with these efforts. So just an intro of what HeSapa Otipi is. We are a grassroots movement. We all started as volunteers about 10 years ago because we knew the importance of needing a community center here in our homelands. All of us are all volunteers, and so we finally came into some funding just about last year. And so I was able to move into an executive director position. We have a board, and we're really proud of all of the efforts that have come this far. And we're thankful for everyone who has done this work, because we know it's a tough place here in Rapid City. You know, even though these are our homelands, there isn't a great relationship between natives and non-natives, and we know that. And so we know it's up to us as the next generation to create a new relationship. And so as here in Rapid City, we have about 23,000 tribal members, and we got this number from Oyate Health Center. And we know there's more than that, but this is the number that we got. There's over 69 tribes represented here in Mniluzahan. And so we're really grateful for all of the nations that are here. We know it's not just Lakota. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Lekshi. I forgot Mniluzahan Otunwahe in there. So anyway, thank you, Lekshi. So from Rapid City Area School District, there's over 69 tribal members in the Rapid City Area School District. And so we acknowledge all of the nations that are here in Rapid City today. Also, there's about 23.5 Indigenous people every day here in Rapid City. And that's from a 2015 USD report. We've done an ongoing survey, about 75% of the community ranked as a community center as their top priority in Rapid City. So HeSapa Otipi's purpose is to build a beautiful state-of-the-art community center for our relatives to come and have celebrations, but not only that, wakes and funerals. That's how I got involved. Is I lost my mother at a young age, and there was no place to have our wakes and funerals to stay with the body all night. And so we know this for years. You know, we've had wakes and funerals at Mother Butler, but now we can't have them there anymore. And so we need a place of our own to have our own cultural ceremonies to carry on our culture and our heritage. It's going to be a safe place to provide our Lakota well-being, to foster our sense of kinship, to bring back our whole ways of life, our Lakota stages of ceremonies, our cultural awareness, and bring back our identities. Also to encourage respect between natives and non-natives in Rapid City. Like I said, there was never a good relationship, and we know that. So this will be a way to bridge the gap. It's a positive solution for our community. So like I said before, last time I came here last year, we were in phase 0. We were still in the early stages. We were still building capacity, building our organization, still working hard to create HeSapa Otipi. It's still in the early stages, but now we have moved into phase 1. And so we've done a lot of community outreach over the past year. We've done surveys, we've done workshops, we've spoken to many groups and just creating awareness about what's going on here. We've also been working with the city. A couple years ago, we applied for some vision funds. We asked for 32 million, and then we asked for 16 million, and then pretty soon we got stuck with 9 million. They put a contingency on our vision funds because we didn't have land at the time. And so it was kind of a catch-22 because they wouldn't give us land or money. And so they need to give us something. You know, we applied for these vision funds just like any other entity. We got them in a good way. And so we were awarded these vision funds. So finally, we got some land donated to us on the north side from Indian Collective. We got 6 acres. And so since we have land, we got that contingency removed. We had to speak with the city council and go to various meetings, and they made us jump through a lot of hoops. And we're still working to get those $9 million accessed. But we did get the contingency removed, and we're still in the process of negotiating a resolution to access the $9 million for construction. So that's one way that we're getting some funds, but we still have a lot of work to do. As you know, we don't have much money, and so we have a lot of work to do. We're starting a capital campaign, and we're gonna have a lot of fundraising to do, but we're still in the early stages. So we're working on our programming right now. We want to know from you, that's why I'm here today. I want to get your input on what you see in a community center. What do you think is the importance? What are our values? What does it look like? And so we'll talk more about that today, and I'll ask you guys some questions, and you can give me some input too. So like I said, we got 6 acres donated to us from Indian Collective on the north side. While we were doing our surveys, our people wanted, our top 3 locations were the north side, near Sioux or near Rapid Creek. And as you know, most of our indigenous population resides on the north side. So that's where our community center is gonna be, amongst our people, where we are. And so we have 6 acres donated to us. I'm not sure if you know where Dollar General is, across from Lakota Homes. But up there on the north side, Indian Collective owns 100 acres up there, and that's where they're going to be putting their Oceti Sakowin Community Academy. And so they are going to be breaking ground sooner than we are. They're in the early stages of, they already have their building there with the academy. And so we will be their neighbors, and they donated 6 acres to us because they see the need of this community center. I'm sure they could have made their own community center on their own, but they wanted local voices to be a part of it. And so we're really grateful that they're collaborating with us and partnering with us, and grateful that they donated the land to us. HeSapa Otipi will be the rightful owners of the land and be the ones that will manage the community center, but they're the ones that donated the land. So we're really grateful for them. I'll show you more of my Mashke here has a map of it if you want to bring it around, Mashke, and you can kind of see the layout of where it's at. So we'll be on the north side. So that was a huge milestone for HeSapa Otipi. The next milestone we got was we got some funding, just enough for our salaries, to hire an architect and to start a capital campaign to raise more funds. Since I moved into executive director position, we've then hired an architect. And it was a long, vigorous process of finding an Indigenous architect. We had about 10 Indigenous architects come to us. And we created a committee of local organizers and leaders to determine the best fit. And the best fit was Sam Obexon, who is the architect for the Minneapolis Indian Center. And he's Anishinaabe. He knows our Indigenous values. He knows the need of a community center here in our community. He's also the president of the Minneapolis Indian Center Board. He has resources and he has experience on how to create a community center. So we're really grateful for his collaboration too, and joining our team. And I'll talk more about him too. So like I said, our next step is to create the design and to start a capital campaign. And so we have a lot of work ahead of us in this next coming years and next year. And so we always welcome input, and I welcome you to come and join us and volunteer for us and help us, because we need all of the help we can get and all the support we can get. So here's a quick map of where to be at. That's Haynes Avenue, if you can see. And then Dollar General is down there in the corner. So it's called the Waziata Community Development. These are some of the scope of services that we were able to possibly provide. We know these are all the needs that we need for our community. We know we can't provide everything, but we're going to partner with those that are. We're partnering with 7 other organizations here in Rapid City who are working together to help each other to create all of these services so that we can help our people. Some of those organizations are Ku Council, Oaye Luta, Okola Kichie, Wambli Ska, Sacred Storm, Oceti Sakowin Community Academy, Indian Collective, Rapid City Indian Boarding School Memorial, and many others. We welcome anyone to come and work with us, because we know that we can't do this alone. We need to do this together as a community. So our building will be 40,000 square feet and approximately between 4 to 8 acres. We got 6 acres already donated to us, so we're working with what we got. We have lots of money to raise, and we know we have lots of work ahead of us. So we're 16 million for construction is what we're guessing, 3 million for initial operating, 1.5 million for annual operating. So we have a lot of work to do. We know that, and a lot of fundraising. So there's another small snapshot of where we will be next to Haynes Avenue. So this is kind of who we are, Mniluzahan, Otunwahe. We think of our community as our co-designers, and we're merely here as a vessel because we're here for the community. We're doing this for the people, and so we're doing this with the people too. We always think of our grandmothers and those who created these efforts before us, and we're working off of what they have created in the beginning. We know their need, and um, we know all of the needs that we need for our community, and so we know what's best for our community. We always think of our ancestors and 7 generations ahead of us as Lakota people, so we're always thinking of our future generations in mind. Our community, like I said, is the co-designers of this building. Uh, we have the executive director, board of directors, our community partners, some of them I just stated. The city of Rapid City, we're working hard to collaborate with them, although they don't want to support us. We're still open to collaboration and trying to work with them. And of course, prioritizing our elders, youth, and families, because this is for them. So here's an introduction on our architect. He will be coming to visit us next month. We work really closely with him. We have a meeting with him every other week, and he's really supportive on this project. He knows what needs to be done too, and so we're happy to be working alongside of him. His name is Sam Obeksin. Here's some of the projects that he's worked on around Indian country, and he's based out of Minneapolis. Here's some of the work that he does. It's culturally driven planning and design. So it's all with our Indigenous perspectives in mind, honoring our history, our wisdom, our values, and centering our voices with our values and traditions in mind. Honoring our cultural connections and our landscape and our natural world, but also culture and honoring our relationships. Like I said, we have a lot of work ahead of us. Here's a conceptual visioning timeline of all of the work that needs to be done into creating this design. And like I said, we invite all of you to join us. This is just the beginning. We're gonna have many, many public info sessions that you can come and give input for and tell us what you think about this space, because we wanna hear from you. Right now we're in December, moving to January 2025. And so we're moving right along. Here's another detailed map of what the development and planning looks like and how it will come into from planning to design and to construction. A lot of it is community visioning. So right now we're in concept planning and we'll be moving into the concept design. Here's some just examples of concept phase activities, having a lot of workshops, putting a lot of poster boards, and just getting a lot of input in what you guys want and what our people want. Like I said, this is all about our Indigenous values and shared community goals and centering Indigenous culture in this design. Full circle, they're the only design and visioning firm in Indian country, and so we're really proud to be working with them. So here's another timeline of where we're at. Like I said, we were in phase 0. We were building capacity, which is going to be an ongoing effort. We got staff now. We have an office. We're establishing partnerships. And so now we're in phase 1, so which is the schematic design. We'll be in this phase for about 9 months, which we'll be having community workshops, visioning goals, and determining our building program, working alongside our architect and building our design. Next year, we'll be moving into our phase 2, which is our capital campaign, which is when we're really gonna hit the ground running and we really need your help. We're gonna be launching our capital campaign to launch funds for building construction and fundraising locally and nationally. So if you have any rich relatives out there, send them my way. Just kidding. If you know any Seminole relatives or Shakopee relatives. Next, after that will be that'll be an ongoing effort is fundraising, of course. Next will be, once we get the funds, we'll be moving into our construction phase, which is phase 3, which will last about 24 months. We're thinking not till the end of about 2026 is when we'll start building construction. Once we complete the design and documents, we'll have a big, huge celebration and a groundbreaking ceremony, and we want all of you to be there. And HeSapa Otipi could be the new home for the Oceti Sakowin Treaty Conference. Can I get a lili? And then phase 4, hopefully, no, most likely by 2028, we will have a building. And we'll all be celebrating there, and Lexi Phil will be feeding us. So just a little bit more, well, as we're in schematic design, our goal is to develop a shared understanding and to the needs of co-creating visions for the future. So after this meeting, after each meeting, we'll be working together to gather and evaluate input to develop the conceptual design. So here's just some pictures of some of our workshops that we've done, some events that we've done, and we want you to be a part of it and want you to be in the next picture. Here's some examples of contemporary architecture from our architect. If you want to take a picture of this QR code, we have a survey that you can give us input for. So if you want to take a picture of the QR code, send it around to your friends. It's also in your brochure. There's many ways that you can give us input. She's handed out some paper that you can write down and give us your thoughts. You can also email us, but we're always having an ongoing survey, so we're always wanting to get your input. So here's some questions that I wanted to ask you, and if you want to answer them, you can answer them on your paper, or you can come talk to me later. You can fill out the survey, but we want to know how do you define community, and what does community mean to you? What are some places in Rapid City where you feel a sense of community, or are there even some places? What places would you consider indigenous or Lakota spaces in Rapid City? How do you define a community center? What does a community center mean to you? And then what do you see when you imagine a future indigenous hosted community center in Rapid City? What do you see a Native community center doing for Native peoples and for Rapid City as a whole? So you don't have to answer all of these questions, but I just want you to answer some of them and just think about, because I want to get your input. We want to know from you. We want to know from our people, what does this look like? Because this is for us and by us. So again, I want to thank all of you for listening, and it's an honor to come and talk to you. And we're here because I want to be transparent and update my relatives, and I want to let you know what's going on, because we're really proud of this work and we want all of your support and encouragement. We want you to be a part of it too and hear from you. So Lila Wopila Tanka Pilamayaye. I also have my email here, and thank you very much for listening. Wopila Tanka.
I got a quick comment. One of the things that we need is when we have meetings like this, we can't bring in outside food. So we want to feed tatanka, wahampi, and traditional foods, but we can't do that. So hopefully she designs a commercial kitchen in there and a place to bring relatives from all over together. So, and we have to decolonize the design. We're not a community. We're either a Tiwahe or a Tioshpaye or Oshpaye, but the community level is called a Oshpaye. So we have to think of those in terms. If it's for the Oyate, it's the Oyate. So just something to think about. Thank you.
Mopila Lexi. And yes, there will be a state-of-the-art community commercial kitchen where you can make shunka wahampi. You can fold it up real nice like they do here. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? We're always taking input. Go ahead, Lexi.
My name is Philip Little Thunder. I'm on a treaty council. I'm also an employee of Tribal Historic Preservation Office. And I'm from Rosebud, South Dakota, Armley, namely. But I've been around the country, and when the natives go to cities or go places, the first place they want to ask for is the Indian Center. And to me personally, Indian Center is a big place for all the natives. And what I see here when it says community, and look what Mr. Two Eagle just said, Oshpai, Tioshpai, like small group, big group. And that's how I interpret the community, is at a mid-level, you know, just the native community. And then when you say Indian center, that means from all over the United States or any place, native community. It's like what you said about the Minnesota Indian Center. And when you Google Native American Center or Indian Center, it'll take you right there. And when you say community, it's gonna take you to maybe just the north side in that area. But I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mopila. We'll take that into consideration. Any other?
Wopila Chechu, Shinkawahampi Hemie Ha. We had a joke out there with that meat. It's full, it really nice, tasted really good, but looked like dog. But we ate it anyway. But I have a question. I used to live in Reno for 35 years and I came back. And I came back, two of my sons died, like I said. During that time, I had witnessed drugs, alcohol, methamphetamines, playing a huge role in Indian country. And our youth always ask, oh, we need a youth building, oh, we need physical activities. But the one thing that I have a question, and this is for everybody in all of our communities across the country and around the world, is this. In Reno, Nevada, they had 3 million people, and they had a woman's group. And in that woman's group, they made every single woman go to meetings, 90 meetings, 90 days, sometimes 3 meetings a day. I believe that our Indian people can do that. They also made the women go out and get a job, and they supplied childcare for those Indian people. And their community, this NAAA group community, Indian people, we need something like that. Can you make room for a project similar to that? Is there room to help our people to live?
Yes, that's what this whole community center is for. It's for everyone to come in and have spaces and have their own events. And it's a place to revitalize our people and to encourage our people in a place of empowerment. And so we welcome anyone who wants to come and have their meetings or wants to start a group, but this is a place where we can do that and where we can feel safe and protected and encouraged. So yes, go ahead.
And so like what she's saying too, that's a space where we're able to bring back our cultural teachings to our relatives. So for example, outside of my job and outside of my schooling, then I go and I help the younger relatives learn how to rechavata, how to be, how to sew, how to quill, how to harvest medicine, you know, especially winter solstice coming, that's what we do. So in every way and move that we make with the HeSapa Otipi, you know, at first it's based off of prayer. Second, it's based off of our point of view of our people and a lot of the driving teaching. And so when she says it's open into what is for the people, it's just a huge movement that we're trying to have that's not provided. And a lot of the things too is like some people ask about like weight and funerals too. That would be a place for it to be offered to that word, and no offense to anybody, but where there will have to be based on economic faith being there, if that's not how they want their relatives to be prayed over, you know. And so there's so many things and so much support that HeSapa can provide for the people, but what we really need is what she emphasized on is we need ideas and relatives of how this building, how they envision the building, how they see it. And we understand the colonization and how it's about Otunwahe and with all that the Otunwahe is coming in together, but that's perfect.
Okay, please use the microphones and state your name. We have, our relatives are listening on throughout the reservations.
Thank you, Chante. I just wanted to say thank you for all the work that you've been doing. I've been watching you guys progress and do so much in the community for a couple years.
Wopila,
Thank you.
wopila.
Just to talk about that is that when I was with Chacha over in Grass Creek, I seen the mother-in-law who she had really taught her daughters quill work, beadwork, making blankets and making the moccasins for the children that are being born. But they were always close, that was just her teaching. She would always say, "What are you going to use it? Use it when it's your turn, when you become older." And along with that is the teaching of the socialization process, the relationships of Ina and the daughters. I always knew that if the sisters and as being the brother-in-law, you could never divide them, Boy, if you tried to pit them against each other, boy, they turn on you, and pretty soon you're the one that ends up getting it. So I learned my lesson well. And so the best thing, and there's a pecking order in there that I noticed with them, that they had a pecking order, that women had the older, younger, and the youngest, and they kept that. And they kept teaching. That was one of the things that I've always noticed, and that's just what I observed. And I tried to get my oldest daughter to do that next. They already have the knowledge. All you have to do is just implement it. You have the teachings, and I'll support you any way I can.
Tashi,
So I think that's important.
before the Chante and what's her name again? Eilina, make sure you incorporate traditional skills
Yes.
into this. We need to reinstitute tanning heights, buffalo heights, and make sure you put a section in there to butcher buffalo, to a place with coolers and freezers in there, so that you can always have a supply of meat in there, and teach papa making, teach teach all these quill work, beadwork, cradle board making, all of those. We have to get those back now. And that's who we are. So that's going to be important to reinstitute our inherent skills. Thank you.
And put a reminder to these, the Wichashas have to go out and hunt, Yeah. Go down to Walmart and I'll bring some meat back. You bring it back and you gobble off. I did my hunting for the day. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to bring the chairman of Rosebud Treaty Council up, Claude, and we're going to start voting and bringing to light some of the resolutions or some of the things that we're going to be presenting.
Can somebody help him come up,
Yeah.
guide him up? We have two resolutions and one letter.
We're just going to do it by consensus, raise a hand, either to go forward or.
Usually in consensus, if anybody doesn't oppose, it'll go through.
Yeah.
And we're about at the end of the conference, so.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, we have closing remarks, and then we'll have a closing ceremony. We also have some wasana we need to give you, to share with you.
Come on. Okay. Huh? Okay. Got your chair. You want to sit on it or you want to? Got your chair on here.
Can we get a volunteer to come read these resolutions for us? Maybe Umpo or, yeah.
Oh. Yeah,
Claude,
okay,
Claude
okay.
will bring the resolution on. Claude, we only have two resolutions, resolution number 1 and resolution number 2.
Okay, just want your attention. What just Phil got done saying is that we just by consensus. Are we gonna just raise our hands? Oh, okay. So, Tansha is gonna read the resolutions. And I'm just going to ask if there's any objections. And if there isn't, then we are going to go on to the, as a sign of approval, we're just going to go to the next one. So we have two resolutions that we want you to approve of. That okay, Hannah. What? Because Tansha, you want why? Okay. Want to read it? Okay.
Okay, so I'm reading this from the top down. Oceti Sakowin Treaty Council, Oceti Sakowin Territory, HeSapa, South Dakota. Resolution number 2024-1. Resolution in support of Oceti Sakowin opposition to the Nebraska Public Power District Power Line Project. Statement of solidarity with tribal Tipples and call to action in response to the Nebraska Public Power District R project. Sponsor, Honor the Earth on behalf of Eon Quigley. Whereas the Oceti Sakowin Treaty Council is the treaty body of the Oceti Sakowin. Whereas we, the Oceti Sakowin, consisting of the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota peoples, stand united in our defense of the sacred lands and waters of our ancestors. And whereas the tribal Tipples, tribal historic preservation offices, have raised significant concerns about the proposed power line project by the Nebraska Public Power District, which is set to cross into the territories protected under the 1851 and 1868 Fort Laramie Treaties, legally binding agreements between the Oceti Sakowin and the United States government. And whereas these treaties affirm the sovereignty of the Oceti Sakowin and protect the lands, waters, and resources within the specified territories, which are integral to our culture, way of life, and spiritual practices. And whereas the Nebraska Public Power District's R project has been proposed without the consent of the Oceti Sakowin peoples, violating our treaty rights and disregarding our voices in decisions impacting our ancestral homelands, ancestral lands. And whereas the construction of this power line project will lead to the destruction of vital grasslands, damage the groundwater, and pose significant threats to our ongoing ecological efforts to mitigate climate change, thereby endangering the health and well-being of our communities and future generations. And whereas the project's construction involves drilling into the earth and pouring cement, further disturbing the natural environment and the sacred lands protected under our treaties. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Oceti Sakowin, express our unwavering opposition to the Nebraska Public Power District's proposed power line project and call upon all relevant parties in respect and uphold the treaties, the environment, and our collective rights as Indigenous peoples. And be it further resolved that we stand in solidarity with the tribal Tipples and all those working to protect the integrity of our lands, waters, and ecosystems, and that we urge the U.S. government and the Nebraska Public Power District to halt this project and engage in meaningful consultation with the Oceti Sakowin in good faith. Passed, adopted, and approved by the Oceti Sakowin Treaty Council by unanimous votes for passage and adoption this 19th day of December 2024.
So, do we have any objections on this resolution?
Something that I want to ask you guys, be part of your understanding. You know, let me look at this thing. I've been waiting for this. I think it's here. Okay. All right. Makochekile yankik. Okay, our people are going through that. All of you. Makochekile luhab hunter. Necha. Dakulina anikwa kokile. Washiti ap kokile hetus eluspe oyakisne. That's our way of thinking. Okay. So for some of my people, the crowd got small, and it's going to get smaller. Well, I'm going to tell you this. Okay? We did that long time ago. Ash, one tukile. Hetchus a work chunkile chumbo keeps me. All right, I seen it from a long time ago. But we have to see what is really the issue for our people. Lena, wakanki lena we chokankile you hakte. See, but we don't talk about that. Now we have land all over the place. No, it belongs to you. Just claim it. Do it. Ash. Oyatiki. Ptala yakina zibhanta. Wowak sapikile walakinkte. Naheun le wichoye kile yankinkte. So wakankile na echa wichokankile suta chanteogana lessons oyuspokte. See? Telling the language all the time. Which way kile ipachlauna washiti aphoki hetsus etone eatunk this oakik this. It's not gonna go the same way. But you have to look at it in a sense where, like this young girl, she's always trying to do something good for her family, which is great. I like that. But me, it's coming. I'm telling you. So think about it, okay? Even you, Phil. Le woyuk chunkile walake hunter. Ptala kinajib na ake. Le woyuk chunkile wichak uhan. Ho he taha. Dakulena han eok dina ichum yuki. Ho hena hetsus eliakikte. Ask if pachilan on a hetsus e chanops neanta. They were going to go through the same thing. Hetsus e yuk john. That's why I always stay quiet. And I'm sitting there looking. Why in the I'm still doing wood for my people on Pine Ridge all the time. Sean knocks every day, okay? Hohena echa utopi. That's for you guys. So given that understanding openly, let's look at it one more time. Makotekile dala yakina jibhanta nigde. Hohetsus ebhikte. Aho wopela.
Alkalama. Well, we don't have any other comments. We'd like to go on to the one more.
Oh, Madakyapi, Wopla Chechu, Tlamilo. Dagnish Nimies Washni, the Stistila Wia Hemie, Ash Chin Chante Washte Mabluha. Nawana Omakiayo, Chi, Nie, you are our elder, and we're supposed to come to you to help. Yes, we're losing our language. I'll admit that. I'm 54, and a lot of our young people, they all speak English and rap. Hey. Only one laughing. But I want to say this. How come in these treaty meetings every year, Senator John Thorne is not here? Where's the President of the United States? How come they're not here? And every year we talk among each other. And when we come, it seems to be the same thing over and over, like a tire going round and round. And only few selected people are able to go to the United Nations. When in the Declaration of Human Rights, it clearly says that it's for indigenous peoples of the world, not of Pine Ridge or Rosebud or anything. It says of the world. And we all should be going that way. Pine Ridge alone gets $9 million in tribal council funding. And we have a lot of children who could be educated that way in law to help our people to live. So I just wondering, can the next meeting maybe perhaps get the senator in here and have them answer some of these questions that concern the Tetuan, Oceti, Sakowin, the people of this land? Could there be a meeting like that? Are we always going to be some kind of way, not just to each other, but towards this government? And our main word in Lakota, I really like this word, Madakya Oyase. We're all related, but yet we treat each other mean. And that's not right. Because it says, Tunkashla says, it's going to be a sacred way of life forever, eternity. But we're being mean to each other. So I was wondering if we could open a door for the senator to come in here and to answer. So we could start making that peace, an effort. That'd be good. A start. Or am I wrong?
I would like to try to answer you. Over the last 4 years, we had a Secretary of Interior, Deb Haaland, come to the Black Hills, Oceti, Sakowin territory. But the treaty people were kept out of those meetings because the federal government has what you call they only deal with IRA leaders. And I have a feeling it's going to be the same way with these senators. Even though you got to understand who signed the treaties. It was not the president or a senator that signed those treaties. It was the United States Army generals that came and some commissioners that signed the treaties. So do you kind of see what I'm getting at? So the federal government intended to violate those treaties from the very beginning. So they just want to get this signed and then just ignore us. We're being ignored. So, and guess who signed those treaties? Our grandfathers signed those treaties. Our chiefs signed those treaties, not the IRA leaders. There was no IRA at that time. So it was the chiefs that signed. And these are the descendants. We are the descendants of those chiefs. We come here to this conference and try to educate you and all of us about what's happening to us. So by doing things like this, we're doing this I'm not asking for a resolution that from the IRA. I'm asking you for your support from you, from your inherent sovereignty, from your Tioshpaye, from your Tiwahe. That's where the power is. That's what we're trying to do here. So this is between us, that we promise to work on these issues together. We're trying to create unity when we do this, so that we can stand together as the traditional Lakota government. You belong to your Tiwahe, you belong to your Tioshwahe. That's the power. So that's why we're doing this.
If I may, Deb Holland made a statement that she would listen to people of Wounded Knee, the descendants of Wounded Knee. And being from Chunkbe Opi, we're not Manderson, we're Wounded Knee. And we are not the IRA, we are the original people. And yes, I dress like this right now, but every time I put on my buckskin outfit, is everybody wanna come say hello and take pictures and make me feel like I'm Hollywood. I have to laugh because it is funny. And I don't compete against my people, okay? I will dance, but I don't compete for money. And I do stand up in my regalia because I was told as a young girl that when we stood up for Chunkpe Opi, and if we act, that Wounded Knee would go away. They told us that if we stood up for what was right, then just maybe our people would live. And that this money, it come from our trees, and that one day that it'll be gone, they said. Those trees will be gone, the water will be polluted. And so all I'm trying to say here is with the IRA government, we're not talking to the IRA government. In those treaties, it says talk to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, which is Deb Holland. And then you're right, we didn't sign treaties with the federal government, but yet the treaty that I have is signed in wet ink by Washington, DC. And the United Nations level, the ECOSOC status, that ECOSOC, it said all indigenous people, but like I told you before, I got kicked out and not one Lakota, Nakota, Dakota, Cheyenne, our 564 federal tribe was there to pick me up and say, come on, let's do this again. They left me behind. And I'm saying to you that even coming from Chunkpe Opi, my people, my relatives, my nieces and nephews want what you want right there. And we want to be a part of this and not be left behind.
Wow, Opila. Chairman, can we?
Okay, we're gonna
Declare
go on
that-
to the next resolution. Appreciate the comments. I know I've been in treatment, oh no, not treatment, sorry. I've been involved with our treaty for 9 years now. And one of the things that I've seen and know going to a lot of our communities and meeting with other relatives is we really lack unity. So, and it's hard. We talk on Kilula was wana ata te wa kitla ke ata ko the correct okina na toani na we talk on Kilula na you know wa all hola bishna. There's no respect for unity. Where did it go? To stay out. You know, Chunupa Yohane, and now with Wojciech, you have to take the Chetty Sakowin, Galana, Omnichek, you have to Hana, Wash Agnajib. They always had respect for each other. But you know, what we have today, I know that. we've gone to community meetings, we've provided meals to ask the community members to come. Yupo, oh, now let's make a decision. Maybe 1, 2, 3 people show up. Well, this is a situation that we need to address, and we want to advance, we want to go forward, but we can't without your support. We do it ourselves, okay, somebody's gonna complain. Well, you guys can't speak for us. Like, we want your input. That's why we do these things. We want you to come to the communities. You're going to represent, we want the Teoshpais to say, yeah, you're the elected person, you could come over and make decisions for us. But every time, when we have these meetings, we ask both treaty people and IRA people to come. And we need to support each other to go forward to address these things. That you made your comment to Wopila Chicha. Thank you. We're going to go on to the next resolution.
Adam, could you grab a microphone and read that other one? And this is in draft. There's always room for improvement. So go ahead, Adam.
Resolution 2, the Oceti, Sakowin, Oyate inherit sovereignty traditional Lakota government. Whereas we, the Oceti, Sakowin, commit to envisioning collectively for the benefit of our Oyate. Our vision will take shape through the courage, commitment, and sacrifice of those who share of themselves and their time, while honoring others who choose to do the same. Our vision will be born in the duration of a time it takes Unchimaka to travel a single hoop around the sun. At the time of this period, we will share our vision with the Oyate. We vision together, knowing that we are in a sacred time in which we cannot achieve what is needed in isolation and as individuals. Individual visions, while important, are vulnerable to the powerful forces that threaten our existence as an Oyate and the existence of Mani Wikoni, boundless life. We vision together as the Oceti, Sakowin, so that the individual visions of our people will find refuge within the collective vision of the Oyate. Our vision is a vision of self-sufficiency and self-determination, a nation that when left alone is capable of nourishing itself and its young, caring for its elders, protecting its women and vulnerable members, practicing its ceremonies and traditions, speaking its language, living well and respectfully with the land and all life, and providing opportunity and fulfillment for all members of the Oyate. We envision the pride, dignity, and self-respect that bubbles forth in abundance from the peoples of the nation that cares well for itself. We recognize that visioning together requires wisdom and humility. It requires making space for mystery and for that which we do not readily understand. It requires embracing challenge and dissonance, making space for such within our spirit in order to create the possibility that we might embrace the priorities of others. At times, it will also require letting go, compromise, and patience. What we know is needed might not be possible or acceptable right away, and we envision the grace, compassion, and support of our relatives to acknowledge paradox as a necessary condition of an inclusive, strong, and powerful Oyate. We recognize that other collectives within our Oyate have many visions already, and as they envision a better world, they are also manifesting their visions. We invite them to join us in our visioning process. If this is not possible for whatever reason, we offer our vision in support of theirs. Our vision and our visioners recognize and honor the visions of others. and recognizing other Indigenous peoples have created life plans as a way to generate clarity and consensus about the resources available to take action, the priority actions, and a long-term strategy. But our commitment will not end with one vision or one plan. We vision now to produce a collective compass that is capable of guiding us and our Oyate as we take the difficult steps towards a self-sufficient society. Acknowledging that self-sufficiency is not a destination, it is a life way. Recognizing that consensus and unity are fundamental resources that we must nurture in order to achieve self-sufficiency. This does not mean letting go of individual perspectives, values, or priorities. We can and should keep and treasure these. It merely means making respectful space for others with different approaches and ideas, even when they don't always perfectly align with our viewpoints. Recognizing traditional Lakota governance, recognizing the Lakota Code, and therefore the Oceti Sakowin Oyate members joining the 2024 Treaty Council meeting convening in the HeSapa, the Black Hills of the Oceti Sakowin Oyate, are hereby resolved to a period of collective visioning and wake up and action, and to committing our vision to a paper as a life plan to present to the Oyate at the 2025 Treaty Conference.
Okay, do we have any comments on that? This resolution?
Yeah, Touch, I have a comment on that. What I'd like to have considered, I'm left Heron. My great grandpa left Heron's sibling is Rattling Blanket. My dad's mother's directly from Red Cloud. They made me Tchatchen for my Tioshpai and Kyle in 1990. They put me through the Wapchaha ceremony. Fusco gave me a staff in 1979 to watch out for my Tioshpai. So I quit running for political office. I've been a president twice, and I'm a retired police chief, so I served my people the best I could. But my first treaty meeting was in 1974 in Batesland. And during that time, there was a challenge by one of those old men that were there. And for the life of me, I cannot remember the name. It'll probably come later on, but what he mentioned was Oyate wawoka kijwicha wanktelo le wochunki le makhata kia etaha yushni makhaki bu wanji khelo ashwanke 20 hena echa nawichak chijipshni chunke mie leche hechetu walashni. So what he said was, you cannot qualify this as a Oceti Sakowin because you don't have the representatives and delegates. So in place of it, a recommendation to state that at the indigenous gathering held at Black Hills on this date, such and such time, that the body present heard and considered and had input and recommendations on these resolutions. Because being a true Itchacha for my Tiosh by Makula, I honestly can't support this in the way it's stated, but I can support it as a member from my people, my relatives. And so I want to make that offering and consideration so it won't create conflict but it would have some type of standing. You have to have standing in order to be able to speak or represent the people in some regard. And with that standing comes some characteristics, I guess, some requirements of who you are and where you come from. So I had to introduce myself like that. My name is Harold Salway. I live my life as Salwe, but I went back to my true birthright name, which is Left Heron. That's why I wanted to introduce it in that regard, but also give an offering of conciliatory light, so there may be generate some support. But I do support what has been offered and recommended, and from a Tioshpaya standing, that's a position I would have to take. And that's why I made this statement in that regard, and keep it brief. I don't like to take up a lot of time on a mic because there's a lot of people that have thoughts and would like to have more input on it, because I know, and according to Jake, this is what Jake said, so I'm telling you what he said. Happy chinkacha. Thank you, Pilamayo. But that is a consideration just from me as a Tioshpai Tacha.
Adam, make sure you include that in the language. First, before we move on, can you raise your hand if you come from Tiwahe? Do you come from your family? Okay, raise your hand if you come from a Tioshpaya. Raise your hand if you come from a Oshpaya. Raise your hand if you come from a Oyate. Those need to be considered. That's where we come from. As an inherent sovereign people, traditional people, that is where we get our power from. And there are some chiefs here. We have Harold Left Heron and Claude Two Elk are duly installed nachas. So I just want to make that clear. We do have leadership here that were properly installed. They're not self-appointed. And thank you. If there's no objections, we'll move on. We have one more item.
We have one more item to bring out.
I'll go ahead and read this.
Okay.
This is a letter that's being requested for support by the treaty conference by the same relatives here. And even though it's playing into the federal process, they're asking for our support, so it won't hurt to support them. Dear members of the 119th Congress, this is an open letter to the 119th Congress on the urgent need to fulfill the federal treaty and trust responsibility for Indian education. Congratulations on being elected to represent the people of the United States of America. Among the millions of Americans you have been tasked with representing include the First Americans that will change to the original people. We are not First Americans. We have always been here. American Indians, Alaska Natives, and Native Hawaiians. That's what the white man calls us. But as members of Congress, you have a legal and moral obligation to uphold the federal government's treaty and trust responsibilities to Indian country. For example, Article 4, 7, and 8 of the U.S. Treaty of Fort Laramie of the Great Sioux Nation, signed on April 29, 1868, guaranteed education to the Oceti Sakowin. I just wanted to remind you that the only thing that was it's in a treaty is the teacher and the schoolhouse, but you can put it into a perspective of education. Also known as the 7 consulpars, which represent 7 divisions of the Sioux Nations, now covering North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Wyoming. In fact, between 1778 and 1871, the United States signed approximately 374 treaties with Native American tribes. These legally binding agreements formalized the cessions of millions of acres of tribal lands in exchange for the protection of tribal rights the recognition of tribal sovereignty and promise of resource and services. These treaties are recognized as the supreme law of the land under Constitution. And the Supreme Court decision, Worcester versus Georgia, 1832, reaffirmed that these obligations must be honored without tribes agreeing to cede vast swaths of land and natural resources through those treaties, lands that provided gold, coal, timber, oil, natural gas, steel, and iron. The United States could not have achieved its strength or provided refuge for millions seeking freedom of religion and opportunity. In exchange of one of the core promises of these treaties and trust responsibilities is the education of Indian children. While the vast majority of Indian students attend public institutions, thousands of students will attend one with 183 federally funded BIE school. The BIE serves as a mechanism to fulfill the federal government treaty and trust responsibility for Indian education. It is also a capacity builder and service provider that supports tribes in delivering culturally appropriate education across Indian country. However, the BIE urgently needs your support. Today, the federal government operates two separate education systems with drastically different outcomes and funding levels. The Department of Defense education activity has been described as one of the best education systems in the United States. DODEA serves approximately 65,000 students across 161 schools in the U.S. and abroad, receives approximately $25,000 per student annually, and consistently ranks among the top performing school systems in terms of teacher recruitment, retention, and student performance in reading and math. In contrast, the BIE operates 183 schools across 23 states, serving approximately 50,000 students with an average of $7,500 per student annually. BIE schools face persistent challenges, including chronic underfunding, outdated, unsafe infrastructure, and teacher shortages. BIE schools face persistent challenges, including chronic underfunding, outdated, that's a redundant statement there. In 2024 school replacement backlog estimated at $3.7 billion, which deferred maintenance costs exceeding $804 million. These funding disparities have hindered educational opportunities and outcomes for Indian students. The undersigned calls on the 19th Congress to fulfill its obligations to Native students by adequate funding of Indian education as needed to achieve parity with other federal education systems. Address the BIE school construction and replacement backlog by allocating sufficient funds, fully funded deferred maintenance to ensure a safe and functional learning environments. Provide sources for school resource officers to ensure student safety, allowing tribal teachers and educators the option to buy into the federal retirement system to promote either retention and recruitment. The federal government's trust responsibility to Indian tribes is a legal and moral obligation that we solemnly request your commitment to meet. Education is foundational to the success of any community, and Indian children deserve equitable opportunities for a quality education in safe and supportive environments. By prioritizing BIE and Indian education, you will honor the treaties, uphold tribal sovereignty, ensure Native students have the tools they need to thrive, and contribute to our shared future. Thank you for your attention to this critical issue. We look forward to working with your leadership to fulfill these solemn obligations sincerely. And then we'll have Chief Two Elk to sign this. Or, any objections, Mr. Chair? That is a letter of support for Indian education. And I think that's it, Claude.
Oh, yeah, really humble. I'm very humble for those of you who come. When there's times like this, we come to help each other. We really come into a difficult time in our Hochoka. It's really hard to stand up and be a leader. There's so much jealousy, so much hatred amongst our people. I remember the time when my Teoshpai was going to put the bonnet on. I got threatened by my own cousins, saying they were going to kill me, threaten me to hurt my family. You know, these things are going on today. We need to let those things go to help our people, especially our young people, the future generations that are coming. We need to look towards the future and addressing the spiritual laws. Oceti, Sakowin, money, the understanding and the teachings I grew up with. And I remember the grandpas and uncles always say, Hokshila. When they want to advise you, they call you Hokshila. But when they love you, they'll say Kakoja or Tushka. When they love you, they call you by a relative name. And I know when they're going to give me some advice, especially if I've done something wrong, they'll say, hey, Hokshila, yo. Yo, contato chishache. I know they're going to give me some stern advice. Well, these things, you know, today you can't do that. You can't advise these takojas, these little ones. You know, they give you the finger, they call you a bad name. Go back and tell their parents. And parents are just as bad. They come over and threaten you. What do you tell my kid? Who do you think you are? Now, we have to deal with that as elders. We try to be helpful. And it came in the early days of the boarding schools. And I'm don't know who came back from the boarding schools. And you had to. There were a lot of bullies in the boarding schools. You didn't stand up for yourself, then you were a wimp. You were bullied around. So these things are learned behavior that we've been using so much that child abuse, child neglect, all these things have come from that teaching. We learned how to be an abusive parent, say things verbally to hurt these little ones. You tell them, get the hell out of my house. You get mad at them, you say things, you hurt them. A lot of them had left this world, finding a tree nearby. I've been there. I worked for a juvenile detention center for 12 years. I helped lift the bodies up by 3 young people who left in that way, to have them take the rope off their necks. I helped talk a young boy out of the bathroom because he had a rifle, a barrel stuck in his mouth. Anybody who opened that door, he said, I'm gonna pull the trigger. When I worked with him at the JDC, I gave him animal names to have them understand and so anyway, on weekends too, my job was not over from 8 to 5. It was always a policeman and a parent came to my door. You better come home, come with us. Little Johnny don't want to talk, don't want to come out of the bathroom. We opened the door, he said he's going to shoot himself. Okay. Okay. I just wanted to touch on those very briefly. I know there's other critical things that we need to do to address our spirit. And there were spiritual laws that we were raised by. So I'm really thankful to see all of you that come here for this time. We've been encouraging tribes to create treaty offices, create treaty circles to help us get together and start healing your inner circles to help each other, to start identifying who you are. Mniluzahan, who are you? A lot of us don't know which Jewish way we're from. And so these things are really critical to understand and know who we are, to bring that pride back up. We have full-bloods that can't speak the language. We have full-bloods who don't even know where they're from, what Jewish way. So these things we need to address in a good way. Don't do things in an angry way. We've been doing that for a long time now, so we've been hurting each other. We want to help you. We're gonna load our chanupa here and pray for what we have done so far, and we want to pray for today and tomorrow. Always remember our grandpas and grandmas. It's really hard to put their moccasins on, what they went through. Thank you. We're gonna go ahead and load the chanupa here.